This is Danny Flexon here for SecondsOut. Delighted to be joined once again by the gentleman, CBS, Chris Billam-Smith, obviously European cruiserweight champion. How you doing?
All good, thank you, mate. Yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. April 16th, you go at it again with your most recent rival, Tommy McCarthy. Just, I suppose, first of all, sum up for us how this rematch came about, because it seemed initially you were pushing for the rematch and he had an injury, I think, and it was delayed. Then it looked like you were going to fight Fabio Turchi, who was then going to fight Richard Riakporhe, and he's now pulled out of that. And now it is McCarthy again on the same show as Conor Benn and Chris Van Heerden. So, yeah, how did we get from the first fight in July to where we are now?
Yeah, well, obviously, after the first fight, a lot of people were calling for it, and I actually thought it was going to be an immediate rematch. Obviously, didn't happen for whatever reason. Then I thought it was going to be Fabio Turchi because it got ordered by the EBU as my mandatory. He didn't want it then, so then I boxed Dylan Brejon, and then expected to fight Turchi sometime in March, April this year. We got told it was on and ready to be sort of signed and announced. And then about 4 days later, he'd signed the fight with Richard, and that got announced. So yeah. And then obviously since then he's now pulled out of that fight. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's a bit of a blessing for me that he took that fight and then had to pull out with an injury. So yeah. Then we got offered this fight, and obviously I was happy to take this fight. And it's really the only fight out there that made sense, to be honest. Other than that, there wasn't really anyone else that got offered. So yeah, it made sense.
And give us an idea, without giving away your game plan, obviously, but what can we see differently from you in this fight? Because you won the first fight, it was close, but you got the victory. How will you make it more clear or more dominant this time around?
I think just being a lot more clinical and a lot less mistakes. I think I made a lot of mistakes in the first fight of just sort of walking in and trying to just force him to work when he didn't need to, which, you know, it worked in a way, but I was a bit lackadaisical on the way in and got caught with a few shots here and there. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's just about being a bit more consistent, clinical, and just, you know, ironing out the creases and getting rid of those mistakes that I made in the first fight.
Is it one of those where you feel there's a lot you could have done better, but perhaps he can't improve that much because it was a good performance, maybe better than people expected?
Yeah, I think so. But then again, you know, it's a must-win fight for him now. So I'm sure he's training really hard and making sure he can perform even better than he did in the first fight. But I think up to that point, it was the best Tommy McCarthy, which I beat that night. And it was a long way off my best performance. And now I'm really enjoying the work we're doing in the gym, and I just can't wait for fight night.
You're in the gym, obviously. Lawrence Okolie's there with you, current world champion. He's got his own goals, of course. Have you guys been sparring much in the build up to this one?
Not this one. I sparred him for his fight. He's obviously now having a break. But yeah, I sparred him. I did a lot of rounds with him before his fight. So there were some good rounds there. Good sort of right. It's more of a pre-camp for me, to be honest. I wasn't in camp properly, but Shane, I was just ticking over, and then Shane asked me to do some rounds. So yeah, I ended up jumping in and doing a fair few rounds for a few weeks with Lawrence, which was great work for me. So yeah, and but I'm not sparring him because obviously, like I said, he's out of the gym now and the rest.
Who have you been sparring this time around so far? Obviously, you've still got a while to go.
I've been sparring a few lads that are either turning over or like 3-0, a 3-0 pro as well, an amateur kid, light heavyweight kid. But then this week I've got David Anika coming down for the next few weeks of sparring because he's great work, great feet, fast hands.
Apologies, not sure what that was.
So yeah, so he's got so much ability, David, and I think he's perfect sparring for Tommy. I think he's, you know, good feet, fast hands, like I said. So I've got him down for the next few weeks of sparring. So he'll be my main sparring partner. And I sparred him when he was helping out with Lawrence as well. We did a couple of rounds. So yeah, it was that'd be good work as well.
It'd be remiss of me not to ask who's responsible for the shiner.
That one. Do you know what it was? It was I had a couple of I sparred Thursday and Friday last week, and it was a little shiner on the Thursday, and then got caught with a shot by Devon Miller, who's a good lad. I think he's been sparring Deion Jumah. He's a tough lad, and yeah, he obviously caught me. I think it's one of those bruises that's really come out. But yeah, no, he's good work as well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you got your own, but you should see the other guy, as they say.
Yeah, something like that.
You mentioned Deion Jumah there. You obviously relinquished your British title. Initially, it was going to be a different fight for it. Obviously, Deion Jumah and Mikel Lawal. But now, because of opponent changes, they're going in against each other, Riakporhe and Dion. Why did you decide to give up the British title? Is it because you've now got the European?
Yeah, I got hand got forced a bit, to be honest. Like, we asked for a delay on the purse bids for the Lawal fight so I could fight Turchi, because we were told that was next, and then vacated the belt, expected Lawal and Jumah to be put up for the belt, and then obviously he's now out of that fight. So to be honest, I'd like to be reinstated so me and Tommy can have that on the line. I think that makes sense. They're all on the line in the first fight. So it'd be great to have the rematch for all the belts again. But yeah, it was just we asked for a delay in the purse bids so we could fight him next after Turchi. But at the time, that was the plan. But the board obviously wanted the belt to be boxed for, so had to vacate that. It was either vacate that or vacate the European, and obviously I'm going to keep the European with all the rankings that come with it, and obviously a higher level. So yeah.
It kind of makes perfect sense, though, for the belt to now be on the line again for you and McCarthy, doesn't it? Because it hasn't been boxed for. It hasn't moved the championship on anyway.
No, that's it. I mean, I vacated. All they'd have to do is reinstate me as champion because, like you said, it hasn't been boxed for. And I think it's not a mistake of anyone's part. It's not the board's mistake. They thought it was going to get boxed for. Now it's, somebody's pulled out of that fight. So all they've got to do is reinstate me. So I'd really I'd love that to happen. So hopefully they can do that. And it can be a defence of the British for me.
And on the fight that's taking place this Saturday, you boxed Deion Jumah in the amateurs. You boxed Richard Riakporhe as a professional. How do you kind of weigh that one up?
Yeah, I think it's a really good fight. Credit to both men for taking it. Although they were both fighting people with similar styles in terms of Jumah's a southpaw, Richard was fighting Turchi, who's a southpaw, and then Mikel and Richard are, both tall lads, long arms, big punchers. So yeah, credit to both lads for taking it. I think it's a really tough one because I know how I'd say Dion is technically the better boxer. He's maybe got more tools to him, but I think Richard's the bigger puncher. And yeah, it's a really interesting fight. And I know Dion boxed a few weeks ago to get a win under his belt, but be interesting to see because he had a while out of the ring to see how he does. And I think it's a really interesting fight, and I'm sort of sitting on the fence of it, to be honest. I wouldn't like to pick a winner, but no, I think it's an intriguing fight, and I think Dion's definitely got the ability, but Richard's got the punch power.
And have you and Shane had a chat about what your route's going to be towards world level or world titles? Obviously, Lawrence has got one, so it's not going to be that route, at least for now. But is there a particular belt you're going to aim for? Is there a particular route you want to take?
No, I mean, I'm ranked highly in all the governing bodies. At the moment, they all seem, or they all were sort of booked up with the WBA with Egorov and Gulamirian. Then obviously Lawrence, and then Breedis is fighting Jaya Patea. And then you got Makabu, and obviously I don't know what's going on there because he was meant to be fighting Canelo. So yeah, maybe that route and see where we're at. I'm ranked fairly high with all of them. I know obviously Richard is ranked highly with WBC as well, and I imagine that that's what they're looking at, maybe that WBC route. So yeah, maybe a rematch with Richard for a world title. That would be nice. But no, we'll wait and see. You know, obviously first things first. I've got to focus on Tommy, get that, put that to bed, and then then we can move on and have a look. But we haven't actually sat down and had a chat or anything. But it's nice to know that, you know, I'm ranked highly with all the governing bodies.
And the fact that the fight was close the first time around, it was a spicy build-up as well. And some people felt he did enough to win. Some people felt you did enough to win. Is that kind of motivation for the rematch? Because you said there, put it to bed. Is there a desire to set the record straight?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think so. In a way, I think I like to be... I just know I can box a lot better, to be honest, and that's how I want to, you know, perform this time, is perform well, and then exactly do that. Make sure there's no dispute in this fight, and put in a very clinical performance, and that I know I'll do that this time. There's a lot of things that are in place now, which just makes it a lot easier for me to carry out the game plan and things like that. We've been working on a lot. So yeah, I guess in a way, people saying it was close. I mean, even I watched the fight back, and I mean, scoring it harshly against me. I gave it 2 rounds to me, but I was watching it back like I need to put it to bed for my own sake and prove that that's not me in there. You know, that's not the best me, and put on a proper performance. So that's what I'll be doing on April 16th.
And on the subject of judging and scores, how do you feel about the recent controversies in British boxing regarding judging and, you know, scorecards being not really familiar or you know, similar to what people are seeing on screen or in the audience in some cases?
I mean, I think it's hard on screen to judge it, because you've got the commentary, which everyone listens to regardless, and that can be biased and not intentionally biased, but it can lean towards one fighter. Obviously the Josh Taylor Catchall fight, that is like Catchall boxed in the best he's ever boxed, and Taylor's probably boxed the worst he ever boxed. So that plays into people's minds because they're overperforming and underperforming. I think people sometimes judge it on what they're capable of. I'm not saying I thought Josh Taylor won the fight. I'm just saying that can be why I think a lot of judges and people can almost go over the top with it. At the same time, you've got different sides of the ring. You'll see a lot of different shots, and that can really matter. One judge can see one fight and another, and we get that quite often. Me and Richard, for example, one judge had me by 3 rounds, one judge had him by 3 rounds, and one judge had it, at one point in it, and that's 3, you know, pretty different views there. So I think that can play into it, but you know, I think there has been obviously some judging in the past, which has been and recently, which has been a bit obscure, and they have got to be made accountable and held accountable for that. But I do think as well, sometimes people go over the top. You know, the thing is, it's a subjective sport. They are humans, and human error is common. And I think that's the issue. I mean, there's not any other way around it. In terms of, you can't have a point scoring system where you've got, you know, head guards on, like they do in Taekwondo, and it touches the head guard, and it's you can't do it like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously they've done a few things and put a few measures in place, and I think they've downgraded Ian John Lewis, I believe. So whether that's, you know, I think the judges have got to watch it back, maybe in front of, you know, a group of people, and hold themselves accountable. Because I mean, us as boxers have to do that when we lose. Even if we get knocked out, we have to go back to drawing board and hold ourselves accountable and say, where did we go wrong? So maybe they should do that. And even when we win, we go back and we watch the tapes and we go, that was wrong, that was a mistake, that was a mistake. And I think judges can do the same thing. It's like the whole black box thinking theory of, you know, going back and pilots have got all the data in that black box, and things like that. So they're always held accountable for any crashes or anything like that. So I think the same thing should happen, and judges should, go back and look at their work and study and make sure there is a clear way of scoring a fight.
You mentioned the Riakporhe fight just then. Do you feel that was a closer fight than the fight with McCarthy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think the judging in that, I think, is I did a lot of work on the inside, which when I watch it back, I can't see it, but I know that was going in there. I mean, he knew what was going on in there. He had a rough night and he felt it. So I think that was a close fight. I mean, the knockdown was dubious as well, and that's really what's wrong with the fight and stopped it being a draw. It would have been one judge apiece and then a draw, because the last judge scored it 95-94, but that was due to the knockdown. Yeah, that's one of those things. But at the same time, probably one of the best things that could have happened for my career. Pushed on from then and doing well now and enjoying it.
How's life outside the gym and the ring?
Yeah, all good. My wife's pregnant, so
congratulations!
Thank you. So got 8 weeks till the due date, 4 weeks till the fight. So
yeah,
I mean, arguably two fights on my hands, but no, we've got get the fight out of the way, and then we can. We're in the last few weeks, so last month of pregnancy, and yeah, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, and so everything is just thinking about my wife and the baby at the moment, and training hard for that, and getting this fight done, and putting the like I said, putting it to bed, and then a bit of family life for a few months.
Oh, that's amazing, mate. No, I'm really happy for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I really appreciate your time. Best of luck with the rest of training camp. Hopefully you don't pick up too many more of those on the way through, but I'm sure you'll give out more than you take, so it's all good.
Cheers, Danny.
Yeah, let's speak probably in fight week.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks, Danny. Thanks for your time.